I want you to look at your life right now. What gives it a sense of meaning, a sense of purpose? The truth is that in every moment of your life, God has been leading you. See, you were created on purpose for a purpose. Now the question is, how will you use your moments? See, I know something about you even without knowing you. It's that God has a plan for your life, greater than anything you can even begin to imagine. Is it the moments that define you, or do you define your moments? See, ladies and gentlemen, life is too short to play it safe. You've got to be bold in life. You've got to take life on. God will use ordinary people like you and me to carry out His extraordinary plan. Every single moment of our lives can be a part of heaven's great cause to bring life and freedom and hope and peace and joy to our world. No matter what situation you are in today, embrace it, nurture it, learn from it. Find its purpose, find its meaning. Every second of consciousness is a precious gift. There are no accidents. Your life is not made up of some seemingly random moments. Every moment has a purpose. Every moment has brought you here. See, you have greatness in you. Now is the time for it to be awakened. Your destiny is coming. Tonight, we're about to hear the stories of not just another Black person, but probably a person that you love, that you care for, that you look at as your friend, but you never even knew what they were going through on a daily basis. You never knew the biases that they had to fight against. You never knew some of the history that they've had to overcome. So tonight is a night for those to speak up who have yet to. Tonight, we get to hear their voices.
So it was 3 years ago. My girlfriend at the time and we decided to go downtown to go walk around the point. Instead of driving, we decided to take the trolley. So getting on at the Southfields Village T station, we get on the T, we sit down and we mind our own business. At the time, I was wearing sweatpants and a sweatshirt with my hood up. And I had my arm around my girlfriend like this. About 10 minutes later, another Caucasian male at the time got on the T. And mind you, my girlfriend at the time was also Caucasian, stereotypical, blonde hair, blue eyes. As the man was walking on the trolley and he walked past us, I locked eyes with the gentleman. And when I locked eyes with him, he just gave me this weird, disturbing just look. And I just passed it off like, okay, to each his own, whatever. Give it 5 minutes later, I turned my head just, stretch and locked eyes with this man again. And he just gave me this disgusting look. Give it again, another 5 minutes later, the man actually decides to talk. He taps on my girlfriend's shoulder and asks her, "Are you okay? Is this man bothering you? Do your parents know you're out right now?" And in that moment in time, I was just so shocked. I didn't even say anything. I didn't know whether to feel enraged, to feel hurt, to feel, I don't know. But it was actually my girlfriend who spoke up and pretty much told the man, "Mind your own business." As a matter of fact, my parents do know I'm out. We left from my parents' house. But in that moment in time, I was racially profiled. The question is, do I feel safe in America? Yes. I say that because I'm a child of the King. To live is Christ, to die is gain.
Do I feel safe as a Black man in America? I wish I could say yes, but the answer is no. This happened today, actually. I was driving behind a cop car, and I wasn't in any real danger. But the closer and closer I got to the car, I started to feel more fear. And it got to the point where my heart was just pounding. And I started to think about, my mortality. If he turns his lights on, what happens? If he pulls me over? If he asks me to go get something, reach in my glove box, sees me as dangerous, what happens then? And I don't believe all cops are bad at all, but it only takes one. It only takes one bad, racist police officer to end my life. And I started thinking about all the things that I want to do in my life, what I want to do when I grow up, my family and things like that. But realistically, I fit the mold. I look like what they fear. And who I am as a person is not that. I'm a loving person. I can listen really well. I think I'm funny, but they don't see any of that. I don't know what they see.
From the moment I was born, I knew that I would be treated different for being Black. My father is a Caucasian male, and my mother is an African American woman. And when they were dating, my dad's family didn't really think anything of it. But then when they found out a Black woman was pregnant with their son's child, things started to take an ugly turn. My mom was giving birth to me in the hospital, and my father decided not to come because his family wouldn't support his decision in being and playing an active role in my life. And when my mom called him to tell him how I was, the first question he asked was, "Is she dark like you?" Not is she healthy or how big is she, but is she dark like you? In middle school, I really wanted to be a part of the popular group. I think that was kind of every middle schooler's dream. And I started hanging out with them. And I started sitting with them at lunch, and they started inviting me to their parties. And I was really happy. And so I started dating one of the guys in the group in middle school. He was my boyfriend. And we were hanging out, and one time he came over and my mom cooked dinner for us, and it was a really good time. And he went home, and the next day he was ignoring me. And so I was really confused. I was going up to his locker. I would say, "Did I do something wrong? Is everything okay?" And then later on he texted me and said, "Hey Shayla, we can't talk anymore, and I can't date you." And I said, "Why? Did I do something wrong?" And he said, "No, you're just black." For my mom, she had to fight and go extra hard for not only being a woman, but a black woman. And there were jobs that she got turned down from, and opportunities that she was looked over for, promotions that were withheld from her because of her color. And when we would go out, she would get questions from other people asking if she was my nanny and how good it was of her to be taking such good care of me. I saw her go through so many struggles in life. I've seen her cry and not be treated the same as me at restaurants. The waiters don't and won't make eye contact with her or talk to her, but they'll talk to me.
I was in 3rd grade when the girl next to me in my class I was friends with the whole year told me that she can't sit next to me anymore because her mom told her she can't sit next to black people. She said that in front of the whole class, so everyone kind of looked at me, and me being the only black kid in the class, it was pretty awkward. I was 9 when my friends made me hide in their basement because they didn't want their family to know that they had a black friend. After they left me alone in the basement for an hour, they turned off the lights so that when their grandparents were leaving, they didn't think that anyone would actually be down there. I was in 4th grade when my teacher in front of the class said that black people can't get lice because their hair is dirty. I was 16 when my friends were surprised that I had a dad. I was 18 when I had to look my 2 nephews who were interracial in the eye and tell them that not all black people are drug dealers, even though their white grandparents say so. I was 19 when I got pulled over and he asked me if I lived in the area, and I said I live down the street, and he followed me home. And my mom came running out of the house because she saw police lights outside the house, and she was crying because she thought that I had died. I was 20 when my mom basically told me that she was happy that I lived this long. I was raised to be unapologetically black. I was raised to not to be afraid to talk too loud or be who I am, but I went to an all-white school, so I learned really quickly that I can't be me and be accepted. Do I feel condemned for my skin? I want to be so proud and make my mom happy and say absolutely not. But I also have to be realistic and say that when I walk outside, I have to make sure that I'm not wearing baggy clothes, that I don't have anything metal on me in case someone might mistake it for a knife, that I can't drive too fast ever, even though my friends make fun of me for driving fast, because if I get pulled over, I might not make it home, and I don't want to have to put my mom through what my friends' parents have gone through.
I remember the day that I realized I was black. It was very early on in life, 2nd or 3rd grade, I'm not sure. But in this class, we were learning about slavery. Now, for some background, I'm Nigerian. I was always taught to identify as Nigerian, as a Yoruba person by tribe. And so realizing I had to identify by race here in America was a shock. We were learning about slavery. Our teacher was talking all about the history of it. In my class, I was probably the only black person. It was a pretty predominantly white school, so yeah, I was there learning about slavery, and it was the first time I was hearing about any of it, and I remember just being shocked by hearing about the history of everything that happened in America. And during the class, I had looked up and noticed my classmates kind of glancing my direction, staring at me, and it didn't click why. I was just focusing on the lesson and realizing, like, oh my goodness, like, I can't believe this happened, and just trying to just grapple with that, but kept getting more stares, and I was looking around the classroom, and that's when it hit me. I was like, wow, okay, I might be the only Black person here. And that's actually still a habit I have today, of entering into rooms and seeing if I'm the only Black person. But I remember after class, they were my friends before, but they came up to me and they were asking me about, being African. They hadn't asked me much about it before, so I was telling them, I was like, yeah, I'm African and Nigerian, why? And they were like, oh, so you're African, like the slaves. And I remember just kind of being shocked and just being like, I'm just African. And they were like, well, we would like to make you our slave for today. And they handed me their pile of books, and they asked me to follow them to the next class. And these were girls I had considered friends before, but it was shocking and it was hurtful how quickly they could turn on me. Learning about their privilege, learning about their status in America, they had immediately chosen to abuse it, and to choose the one African girl in the classroom to choose as their slave. And it hurt. It really hurt, because people that you consider friends, really, I guess in a moment like that, doesn't mean much to them. So yeah, it was the day I realized I was Black, and the day I realized how I had to be aware of it, because it could be used against me. Do I feel heard? Mostly no. I always just assumed that maybe it's because I was a little bit quiet, maybe I just need to speak up a little bit louder, and yeah, a lot of it is due to that. But I also just don't feel like when I try and talk about situations about racial injustice, I don't feel heard. I feel like it's an uncomfortable topic for a lot of people to have to deal with the history of that in America, have to deal with the part they may be implicitly playing into. So when I feel like I try and talk about my experiences, everything I go through on a daily basis, I don't feel heard. I don't feel like people want to listen to that. It makes them turn inward, and sometimes people just can't handle that.
So what's one story or like just time that you were afraid to share during this video that like you just felt wasn't like okay for a church setting? I guess I can start. When I was 13, I used to go to this summer camp, and it was really cool. Like, we went swimming, we played sports, we also played tennis and instruments. We even did like homework sometimes, and it wasn't super lame. It was pretty good. And every so often, like one of the directors would come down and like talk to me, talk to like some of the other guys. And we were like 13 again. And he'd like pull us aside, talk to us, just ask how we're doing, how old we were, everything. And every so often, like he'd come down. My mom would she was a nurse there, would just come down and like check on me. Like, mom never does that. Like, I'm independent. She's never like needed to check on me before. So it's pretty weird. And I went there for like 2 summers, and eventually after like my second summer, I just never went back. She never really told me why. And then I eventually asked her why, and she told me that the director that would always pull me aside, always try and talk to me, always try and get me like in a room alone just to like see how I was doing and see how I liked the camp. He used to basically like solicit black male prostitutes and like beat them, because that was like his thing. He was into that. And she told me that she was just always worried about me being alone there, and that she like just after 2 years just didn't feel comfortable with me being there. And then he died the next year, and she quit that job because he had several reports and like accusations against him, and he had a lot of money, so no one really did anything about it. And when he died, everything kind of got out. It was in the news, and then she just quit, found a new job, and that was the end of me going to that summer camp.
Yeah.
See, that's the problem, is like money covers way too much.
Yeah.
Can cover racism, can cover bias. Like, you can get away with anything with money, and you can treat people just however you want, and then it's just covered up. That's really
Yeah.
woo.
What's up?
This world
Definitely,
is
for sure.
yeah. See, I don't have any like blatant overt racism that in my life for some reason. God has blessed me in that, but I'm telling you, like, I don't even know, man. It happens way too often that it's just that covert racism. You know,
Yeah.
those racist jokes like, hey, you know, once the lights goes out, oh, where's Tim? I can't find him. And everybody's and I'm just sitting there like, and then you complain. They say you're too sensitive. Like, stop. Just completely invalidated. Like my whole life is
Right.
being that one black friend, and then you know,
Right.
it happens so often, and people again like, you walk in the street, and people just like,
Yeah.
just looking at you like.
Suspicious of you.
Like what? And then so I gotta try to smile so you know I'm not suspicious, and it's just it's a lot of work being black and safe.
Yeah.
Like that's not right.
Definitely.
You know, I get those jokes at work, and it's frustrating because like I work with like, mostly elderly people, and so I hear those jokes a lot, and it's just like little things where it's just like constant touching of my hair. It's like I don't know you, you're a stranger to me. Don't know why your hand.
They need to stop that.
Oh, your
Yeah,
finger is on your
what?
scalp. It's uncomfortable. Yeah, the jokes about being dark. It's just about when I wear straight hair, they're like, oh, you have good hair. It's like, what is that?
What does that mean?
Yeah. And so little things like that are just so frustrating that I've had to deal with.
Yeah.
But I had a story similar to you of talking to, he was white. In middle school, he wasn't even like someone that I was crushing on. I was inquiring about his dating life because he had a crush on my friend, and I was trying to set them up, be a little sneaky about it. So I was asking him about the girls that he likes, and he was like, I just want to make it clear. He's like, I think you're cool, but I would never date you. I was like, okay, great that you're telling me this. Can I ask why? I was like, can I ask why? And he was like, well, I could never date someone who's like so loud and has big hair and
Swear up.
And I was
Just
like,
swear.
I remember just like I was like, I don't think anyone in my life has ever called me loud. So I was like,
Yes.
well, I don't
You're not even loud.
Yeah, so I was like,
You're not.
where's he going with this? And he eventually came around. He's like, yeah, I just couldn't date you because you're black.
See, they code it. That's what.
Yeah.
I'm about to go off.
Yeah.
They code it like they don't say black, but they'll just say like, oh,
Micro insults that let you
Ghetto.
know, like, hey, I
Loud.
think less of you because of the color of your skin.
Yeah.
it's just buried in I want
Yeah.
to say culture. Honestly,
It's
like
it's spoon-fed inheritance.
It's
you
how
know,
you're raised.
they hear they hear that at home and they think, okay, well, like now I can go out and say
Yeah.
it. So I've inherited those thoughts. I've inherited that mindset that black people are loud and uneducated and whatever. And now I'm gonna go ahead and say it to people of color that I see. Like, not okay.
let me ask
not
you,
okay.
when were your parents born? What year?
My mom was born in 1970 and my dad was born in 1969.
You gotta know.
1963.
65.
Like our parents were born right at the end of segregation. Like
Yeah. Right.
it blows my mind that
Right.
that's not far. That's not
No, it's not.
history. Like,
Right.
it's-
No,
like,
it's not.
People were raised to treat people, say, you don't deserve what I deserve. You don't get to eat where I eat.
I've actually had conversations with people saying, like, I was taught to fear black people in my home. And she said that, like, statistically in her home, that statistically black people were more likely to commit crimes in her home. That's what she was taught. So, therefore, she will fear them
Yeah.
outside of her home.
Yeah. See. And then what blows my mind even more is that, let's say you're raised racist, right?
Yeah.
You say, all right, I'm gonna go be a lawyer. I'm gonna go be a doctor, give myself a good education. But you still believe black people are dangerous. You still believe they
Yeah.
don't deserve as much as you. And that happens now. You're in the medical field. You treat someone. Some black person comes in and they say, I'm feeling this. I'm having all this.
Yeah.
You're fine.
Yeah.
And it happens. Like even black women and they're giving birth. Like
Yes.
Yeah, or
They,
more
and
likely-
even African American children, they're 4 times more likely to die of an asthma attack than non-Hispanic white children. Why?
I think a lot of it is because
Why?
they label our behaviors as being like hysterical
Or
When-
over the top.
Yeah, when they see us as being dramatic. So anything that when we genuinely complain of pain, they're just like, oh, they're just being dramatic.
When
how
that's
they
a
are.
great. I love that you brought that up. When I was at EMT in Duquesne, I was going to a call where there was 2 young black men that were shot, and there was a drive-by shooting, and they were just getting back from football practice, and he was shot in the foot, and you could see that the bullet had never left his foot because it went in through the back and never came through the top of his foot. So as we were cutting off his shoe, and kind of pulling it off. He was screaming. You know, he has a bullet in his foot. Well, we get to get him on a gurney, get him into the to the ambulance, and his mother's hysterical. You know, she just could have lost her son. She could have lost her son. And, you know, the paramedic, I'm an EMT, I don't have the ability to give him medicine. I just do more of like treating until we get to the hospital. So the paramedic on duty was supposed to give him some pain medicine, and she said, I know you're kind, and I'm not gonna start giving you drugs so that you can go ahead and sell them to other people.
In the moment of all that pain.
In the moment of that pain. And then to the mother, she was like, you're being over the top. Like, he's fine. He's in the gurney. And the EMT that was driving, because I was in the back, I was the back EMT with the paramedic. The EMT was driving, and he said, like, typical overacting black people, just overacting, being over the top. And I was like, excuse me? Like, well, that's a whole other story. But yeah, like, it's real. It's real. Even in the medical field, we can't afford that. We can't afford
It's life and death.
Yes, it's life and death. We can't afford to place a behavior on a killer. If they're hurting, then your job is to treat.
Exactly.
Period.
And there should be definitive rules and laws that state what can and cannot be done.
Absolutely.
The fact is, there are laws, but because this is a racially just wrong country, the laws don't matter.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
And even like denying the treat, I was reading about this recently, is that like black women are often denied like epidurals during
Yes,
like
they are.
child labor because of the whole belief that they're overacting, but also because of the strong black women narrative is that they believe that they're just naturally stronger or they can cope with pain better, and so they're just like, oh, you don't need it because you're just stronger, you'll get through this.
No.
But
There
it's like,
was-
why do we have to be strong in this moment? Like we could use some help. Like she's giving birth. I don't think you should put that on her of you should be strong in this moment. It's just like she can feel however she wants to feel. Your job
It's
is
very
to just
painful.
treat her.
Yeah. There was a study that was done in 2016 that 50% of the medical students thought that black people just don't feel pain. Think about how dehumanizing that
Do
is.
they know
for
we're
us.
human? Like, do they know we are the
It's
same?
dehumanizing.
We're the
They
same
said
color.
they reported that black people have different nerves and different feelings, and we just can't feel pain as much. Where did that assumption
how's that
come?
make
That's not
any
even
sense?
scientific fact. And you went through 4 years of medical school, and that's what you thought.
Right, because scientific fact, physiology, I think that's what it is. Like,
Yeah.
we're all the same color. It's just I got a little bit more melanin.
That's
Yeah,
it.
literally.
A pigment.
A
What's
pigment. A pigment.
So Scott, I want to get real with you though,
All right.
because you talked about earlier you dress this certain way
Yeah.
and like. So what's that like? What comments do you get?
Yeah.
All right. So growing up in a predominantly white school, I was raised right. Because again, every time you leave the house as a black male, especially being one of the only black males, like the bar is already set high, but the bar's set higher for us as African American males. Like, glory to God that I made it through school. I graduated high school, and I'm still sitting here with you guys.
Yeah.
That is evidence of the grace of God. But growing up in school, being raised right by a mom, because dad was never in a picture, I was adopted into an African American family and moved out here. And growing up in school, I would always be called you're the whitest black kid. Like you don't cuss. Like you're good for a black
And it's like,
guy.
what is
You're
that?
good.
Oh my
I get that.
gosh.
Yep. Why?
Because I was intelligent, because I didn't sack my pants, because I didn't cuss. Oh yeah.
It's just like frustrating because then you'll speak and they're like, oh, you're so well spoken. You know?
Yeah.
Like, what's that
You know, it's
supposed
like,
to mean?
did you expect me to not?
Yeah.
Like, for what reason? I would
Uh-huh.
list them now. I'd like to know. You know?
Right,
And it's like
right.
frustrating and like getting the comments of like, you're
Right.
you're the whitest black person. That's like, what does that mean?
Right.
Like, are you attributing like some of my traits
Am I
to
supposed
whiteness?
to be barbaric?
Yeah, and
Am I
it's-
supposed to be an animal?
And
Is
it's
that
just
what
like
you're thinking?
frustrating because they attribute all my positive traits to like
To being white?
Yeah, and it's just
Ooh.
like that. No, it's like I have these traits
Yeah.
as a black person.
That's
Don't
right.
try and separate those and
That's
say,
right.
no,
Uh-oh, she's
these
going
good
off.
traits.
She's going off.
Right.
These
Come
good
on.
Tony, go off.
And it makes me frustrated because it's just like you're just trying to lump me in closer at like a proximity to whiteness, and it's just like that's
It's easier for them.
Yes.
It's
It's
to
just like-
lump it
yes.
and then say this is what it is.
Yes.
This is what we can
and
label it.
it's
Yes.
almost like separating because it's just like realizing it's like, oh, you have these traits, so it's easier for me to say, you know, you're the whitest black person, and it makes it a little bit easier because it's just like trying. It's almost like they're saying it's like there's no way you have these traits and you're
Right.
just black.
Alright,
Right.
so I'm gonna play devil's advocate though, real quick. Is that a lot of white people have not ever had to have a race conversation in their house.
That's true. That's
A
true.
lot of white people, not a lot, some white people, if they grow up in suburban households, everything around them is catered to them white. It's just for them, everything. So whenever they do come around black people and it's just completely different, they're just like, I don't know what to do, and they just react off of their bias, and then it's negative. So like, I don't know, but it's weird to me that they've never had to change their way of life and incorporate someone that might not look like them. You know, I don't know. Like for us, it's common. Like you have to. And like for me, I grew up always trying to assimilate. Always. I grew up in Mount Lebanon, predominantly white. So
Down the street, bro. Down the street from me.
and then it was after 6th or 7th grade, went to middle school. It was a good mix, more black than white. Instantly got the, oh, you're so white, you know, from the black kids, and the white kids were like, oh, you're pretty white too. Like I'm just like,
Right?
what,
Even
like
the
what do
black
I
kids,
do
like,
right
come
now?
on
I'm trying to navigate the water.
I feel
And
that.
I think it was honestly in high school when I was really like, I gotta be me.
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah.
it's not right. Because it's
it's
not right
frustrating.
growing up like that.
Like you mentioned, like how a lot of everything for them is catered to them and they don't have to confront it. Whereas if you are raised in a predominantly white neighborhood, it's like nothing is catered to you. So having to realize where it's just like how out of place you are at some points. Like I remember, and this is just in general, I remember we had a game playing, we played growing up, where we'd watch TV and we'd count the amount of commercials there were without a single black person. And I don't know why we started playing this game, but it was like a little thing that we caught on to. Yeah. Woke children. I was like realizing, I was like, oh, it was 6 commercials. I haven't seen a single black person. It was just like a little thing, but it adds up to a lot more when you don't see anyone who looks like you represented in any media.
Remember Black Panther? How big that was for us, and how people didn't get it.
Yeah.
Like, and then okay, so this random thing blew my mind. Like someone said that Band-Aids, they're supposed to be made to match your skin tone.
For real?
They are. Not obviously.
Yeah.
Ours.
Right.
But
I
it's
was
like
gonna say mine never
it's
matches.
so.
Alright.
My fault. It's always just like a little too dark. I'm pretty pale. Anyway.
Bryce, you're quiet. How has your conversations with white people been in this time with the George Floyd thing going on?
I've probably never been stopped more by like older white people and just been like, I really appreciate you and like I want you to know I stand with you. And I'm like, oh, like, so yeah, like I was like, wow, like that's really awesome.
Sorry, pause. Y'all are all surprised. That's not good. Like we're all like, what?
I feel like acknowledging.
No, that's right. I'm just saying, like the fact that he got a positive response, and we're just like, oh. Sorry.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
I see
yeah.
what you're saying.
Yeah,
I
so
see what
like
you're
that's
saying.
been like really cool. But then like this whole time's been really hard. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I was raised to kind of not have emotions. So like in my 20s, I've really been trying to like be more emotional and like acknowledge things that make me like upset. So like it's awesome that like white people are stopping and being like, hey, like I support you. Like I'm here for you, whatever you need. Like that's awesome and everything. But like how many people are stopping them and asking, I support you. I don't want to need to be supported. I want to like I've fought my whole life. I watched my mom fight her whole life
Amen.
to just be like the same.
Yeah.
I don't want to be treated better than you. I don't want you to have to stop and be like, I support you, or like, I'm sure time's really hard right now. I really don't even want it to have to be like acknowledged. I want to be the same as you.
Right.
I feel that,
Absolutely.
but yeah.
Well, like right now, obviously it needs to be acknowledged, but like I don't want like it's sad that it had to get to that point where like now people have to think like, oh wow, it's really hard for black people. Like,
oh well.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the
been
thing.
hard.
It's like
It's
it's
been
been hard.
hard.
Where you been at? Yeah.
Right.
So going off of that to kind of bring it
To a close, yeah.
to a close, what do you want? What do you want white people to get? Like, if you could say one thing, maybe it's, I wish you wouldn't treat me like this.
Do you want everyone just to go around?
Yeah, we're gonna take one person.
Oh.
Anyone can just hop.
Let me cook some.
I need to think. Well,
I mean, straight up, I just want white people to fully understand the struggles of growing up and being black in America. Simple as that. I mean, just
at least try.
understand. Yeah, try.
At least
just
try.
try to understand. It's not going to come natural. You're going to have to go out of your way.
Yeah.
It's going to be painful. And one of the pastors said, it's not about white guilt. It's not time to be guilty, just responsible. So understanding this, like, we don't have the same pride as you do because our whole existence has been subpar, has been less than. So, yeah. I'm bad.
That was good.
No.
And wrap it up, because that was it.
I think just one thing in general is just like checking yourself. So Tim had mentioned like when he goes into an elevator, like they clutch their purse, take a couple steps back. I just want you like in that moment to check yourself and just be like, why did I just do that? What do I believe about this person? Is it solely just because of their skin color, how they look, how they're dressed? And just check yourself and just wonder like, why am I doing this? And it's like, that's some racist beliefs that you have, some biases that you need to confront in yourself and just realize like what you're doing is not okay, the things that you're placing on somebody you don't even know is not okay, and just check yourself in that moment and every moment after, and just be aware of these beliefs that you have and just work to just be better. Yeah.
I would say that kind of like what you said, guilt and shame don't cause change, repentance does. And I would, my first step to white people would be don't feel ashamed, don't feel guilt. You're not the only one, but now take action.
Yeah.
And in this season, silence is agreeance. So don't be silent. Yeah. Fight for your friends, stand up for your loved ones, and get to know someone that looks completely different from you. Empathize with them, ask them who they are, where they came from, some of their struggles. Love them. Just pour out as Jesus would have poured out to those who are different than you.
If I had to say one thing I don't even want to put a label to, white people, because we're all children of God. But if we call ourselves children of God, we ought to go by the ultimate commandment of, as long as God loves us, we're supposed to love one another. And for, us all as brothers and sisters in Christ, the one thing I would say for you guys to piggyback kind of off everyone is, one, educate yourself, check yourself before you go think or do something that you're just later gonna regret.
Oh, this one's hard because like you said one thing and there's like 1,000 things I would
Right.
say.
Yeah,
There's like
there is.
everything is running through my mind, and I mean like to just pick one just doesn't do justice. But if I had to like pick one, I mean like you don't have to be afraid of us anymore. Like you never had to be.
Wow.
I don't want to take anything you have. I don't want to make you feel less or any way that you made us feel for a long time. I just want to be seen as an equal and to have the same opportunities you have. Growing up without that does a lot to your mental state, and it honestly shapes who you are as a person and shapes the choices you have to make. And I think as a whole, we as humans would just be better if everyone got the same treatment.
All right, that's a wrap.
We black and we proud. We black and we proud.
Hey.
We black